What is going on, No Horsing Around family? Zach Boyd, Stephen Burton, back at it again for another Wednesday live stream. And guys, I mean, we've had a little bit of time off here. We've all had time to take a little bit of a deep breath, a little mini bye week, is like I would like to call it, Stephen. And I guess before we get into all of these different topics and all of these different things, we're going to shift probably fairly quickly tonight to the Jaguars game. This offensive line was terrible against the Broncos, and we really didn't do a whole lot to really upgrade that. I was a little bit surprised that we didn't do a whole lot. I know we signed a tackle, Ty Shecky, to come in, and I don't know, man. How you feeling about this O-line, Steven?
I mean, I'll tell you this. We talked about it after the Broncos game. I like the idea that they tried to make the change, that they see that there is an issue. Yeah. They're acknowledging there's an issue, and they're trying to, at least. I don't like.
You don't like the combination.
I don't necessarily love who they get, but at least they're acknowledging it. I do like the one thing I'll take away too is I do like that Raymond is that they have come out and said he's starting, he's left tackle now, he's got to learn. And from everything I've read and watching too, he improved as the game went on. He's a rookie. Throw him in there, see what he has. He's more talented than anybody else you have that you can put at that position.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I mean, we're all going to think about the false starts. We're all going to think about the holding calls. But if you just go back and watch it, there's something to like about him. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It definitely wasn't pretty. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's been coming off an ankle injury, his first NFL start on the road in a short week where they basically did a complete line shift all in a matter of 4 days. I mean, that's a big ask, that's a huge ask. By the way, look at my man. What we got here? Let's throw him up here. Jacoby McCray, let's go all the way from Louisiana, man. What up, brother? Man. What up, brother? Welcome to the live stream. I hope you're a part of the family, but if you're not, you are now. So all the way from Louisiana. What city, man? Let us know in the comments what city you're from. Give them a shout out. But yeah, I thought that Ryman. There were things that you could walk away from that game and say, I can see where there's a little bit of talent here, and he's definitely an upgrade. He wasn't getting beat. When Matt Pryor gets beat and he whiffs. He doesn't even touch the guy. These are rookie mistakes. These are things that are going to have to be ironed out. And I would venture to say, as we go down the season and as he gets to play more and as he trusts the health of his ankle just to be able to be out there on the football field, I think you're probably going to see his trajectory kind of go up. I don't think it's going to go down. I really don't even think it's going to flatline, if we're being 100% honest. So I like that. On that right side, man, it's still shaky. Sounds like that Frank Reich wants to kind of solidify that middle a little bit more. That's what he wants Braden Smith in there at the guard position. And I'll tell you what, if it can get this running game started, if it can get things going in that direction, we can get Jonathan Taylor. If we can go back to being who we are, our core identity, run the damn ball. How many times have we heard that, Steven?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you can't run the damn ball, then you can't run the damn ball, right? If there's no holes out there. So we got to get back to that a little bit. I do not like Pryor. I think you got to do something there. I think you got to go out there and at least try and put someone out there. And the one guy I'm just really a little bit puzzled by Dennis Kelly. I don't know why they've not even given him a shot. I mean, it's not like the options above him are far greater than he is.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of wonder what's going on with that. That Dennis Kelly thing is just a little odd to me, Steven.
Yeah, it's well, and then you have today. Today comes out where it's why isn't he playing? And he responds with I don't know. And I think he did an interview with Kiefer, didn't he? Where he talked about that, hey, he's ready to go. He's just, has to have his number called. So it's interesting because he is here's the thing, is he great? No. But is he better than what you're trotting out there the first 5 weeks? Yes. Yes, he is. So you need to, you've got to, you have to figure this out. You have to figure you messed around. You didn't address it in the offseason. You
Yeah.
gifted 2 positions to people who didn't need them, right? And now you're screwed. You're in season. You're going to have to make these in season changes. And you got to figure this out because Matt Ryan, I mean, I've had my druthers and I've said different things about Matt Ryan. He will not make it through the season. Like, he
No.
will not make it through the season with this.
No, it's not going to happen. Shout out to Jose. Let's get this dub this weekend, Jose. I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
Corey Lampkins, Dennis Kelly said today, I came here to play. Well, he came here to play, but there's some reason why this coaching staff hasn't given him a shot. And really, I don't think there's a good reason, honestly,
Do you
Steve.
know, honestly, man, I'm going to say this. It's tinfoil hat conspiracy. It's totally not this, but you almost feel like Ballard signed him to keep him off of the Titans because the Titans did want him back. Like when
Yeah.
they had their O-line issues, it's almost it's not that. He would never do that, I don't think, in the pros when you need every position that you have. But it almost feels like it's like, I don't want anybody else to have him, so I'm going to stash him away.
Yeah, that's a weird thing, man. If that's the case, God, I hope that isn't. I hope you're wrong on that one. You know,
I
I mean,
hope I am too.
that would be a weird thing to go. Let's see here. He says TWE McGraw says free Sam. We're gonna hear that, man. We're gonna hear that as it goes, as the season goes along. Our man Van Kemp, man. If you guys haven't had a chance to go out and check out that Tossing Horseshoes podcast, the YouTube channel, go subscribe. Friend of the show, man. Super cool dude, and he's always got a really good, outlook and take on the game of football as far as the Indianapolis Colts. He does a great job. We've had him on our show. Look forward to having him on again down the road as well. So give that guy a follow for sure. Let's see. McGraw follows it up. Extra time Sam creates with his feet would help a lot. You ain't wrong. I think it's probably a little early, premature if you ask me right now to put them in. I think you're in the heat of these next 2 weeks are big, Stephen. Like these next 2 weeks are going to determine really everything when it comes down to it. And I'm calling for a sweep here. You got to go 2-0, man. You got to come out and be different than you've been the whole time. I think that should be the mantra in that locker room. Be different. Be different with your approach, with the way that you practice the game of football, with the way that you game plan. Just be different, man. I mean, enough is enough with going out here and falling flat on your face in these big games. We should not, as content creators, should not be more fired up about this football game and the Jacksonville Jaguars. We should not be more pissed off than the Indianapolis Colts football team should be. No one's been embarrassed more top to bottom. I'm talking about owner, GM, coach, players, coordinators. They've all been embarrassed, man. And for some reason in these games, they don't show out, man. They don't show out. So it's just one of those weird things. Let's shout out a couple people, Stephen, before we get going. John Gilbert, let's go Colts from Michigan, living in Memphis. That's cool. We love that right there. Peyton says, I agree. I still think it's early on Sam. By week 9, we should know everything we need to know. You ain't wrong, man. You ain't wrong. Nomad's got some cool stuff. Notice you don't want to hear, let's get Nick in there.
I'm not even going to say anything. I wanted to cut him and go with Sam as the backup. Yeah, I don't think Nick Foles has anything left in his tank.
I mean, that dude is toast in my
opinion.
He
was third string on the Bears last year.
Yeah, he's trash, man. Let's just be honest. I mean, I think he's trash.
But I want nothing to do with that, man. Getting in. I mean, I think part of it too is everyone wants to see what does Sam actually have, like what, and then his mobility. Like if he were to get into a game, here's the thing. I'm gonna do a hot. It's not a hot take, but it's a take here. Sam's not getting in any game unless Matt Ryan gets hurt. I don't think they're going to bench Matt Ryan. They're going to ride this till the wheels come off. If they ride it to the playoffs, great. If they ride it and they're winning fourth, it's not like last year when it would have been smart to sit Carson down and save that pick. There's nothing attached to it.
Yeah.
So
Let's
they're
talk
going to
about
ride
that
it
too.
till the wheels come off.
Let's talk about that. Ron Rivera, if you guys didn't
Oh,
have a chance to watch it this week, I mean, not a ringing endorsement of Carson Wentz whatsoever. I mean, for all the stuff that happened last year, for all the things that were said in the offseason, our coaching staff never publicly really like called him out. Ron Rivera called out Carson Wentz this week. They said, "What's the difference between you and the rest of this division?" And he simply said, "Quarterback." I
it
mean,
was
man,
so bad.
man, that is basically taking one of these right there and sticking it
Yeah.
right to your quarterback and saying, "Hey, man, you no way, no how, you are letting us down." And a lot of what we saw with him last year. I think the Commanders are kind of experiencing a little bit of that Carson Wentz effect too. He
When
has
you look,
moments where you look at him and you're like, wow, that was pretty good. Like that was like even the drive going all the way down the field. You're like, oh man, he made a couple nice throws there, to get them all the way down the field. But when the biggest plays are on the line, his brain just freezes in those moments, and he just makes these mistakes that you almost think to yourself, like you gotta know that 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 the coverage looks this way. These are not just like, oh my gosh, fluky interceptions. These are blatant. You knew who you were going to throw to pre-snap. You looked him all the way in. The other team, unfortunately, knew who you were going to throw to, and you threw it anyways. That's just kind of one of those
I
deals.
mean, I'll say this as the standing Carson apologist from last year, right? Ron Rivera is going to get fired at the end of this year, right? Because
Yeah,
you also hear players coming out going, I cannot believe you don't do that. You don't openly throw your quarterback under the bus.
yeah,
He tried to back it up some and be like, and I get his point. When he backed it up, it was a good point if he had said it that way, which
yeah,
was consistency. The other teams in the division have had consistency at quarterback, right? But man, yeah, they are seeing it. You see the highs. What was it? 4 touchdowns in week 1, and now he has 10 total after week 5.
yeah,
He's got, I think, six picks somewhere around there. I mean, you see it, and then I think the best thing you popped it. What Nomadic Brian's Carson was consistent in letting the Colts down last Sunday. All he had to do was score a touchdown, and we would have been first. I mean, it's tough too. Like I
yeah,
started looking at different things with him with on Sunday too, and it was like put not that he's put into a bad position, but you got no timeouts. Like if that's us, I think Frank's probably running the ball at least once. Run and hurry. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Bad play calls too. Like there's just across the board, but man, oh man, the fact that they ran. We thought Jim Irsay said bad stuff, and he
yeah.
has on the way out the door when he was gone, but never why he was currently wearing the uniform.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting. Peyton asked, "Will Frank, Chris, and Matt be gone if we miss the playoffs?" Frank, yes. Chris, yes. Probably not Matt unless he retires. He is on the books for $35 million next year, and that is there is no way around that. Whether we like it, whether we hate it, whether anything, if he wants to play football again, the only way we're not paying him $35 million is if we can talk another team into taking him off of taking him in a trade. I mean, if we're being 100% honest, I've hated a lot of the things that Matt's done this season, but one thing, Steven, that is stuck in my head unequivocally this whole week is 3 times this season the Indianapolis Colts have had a chance to win a football game at the end of the football game, and 3 times in a game where he's fumbled and he's thrown interceptions in every single one of those games, he's led his football team all the way down the field to win the football game. One time, Blankenship misses a field goal and we tie. The other 2 times, we actually win those football games. Take that for what you want to take it for, but I think that's a part of being a really good quarterback is in the worst moments. I mean, I can't remember how many, and I'm not comparing him to this guy at all, but Andrew, look how many games where he would come out and throw 2 or 3 just like crazy interceptions, And then at the end of the game, he still got you in it. He still found a way to get you that win. I'm not ready to completely throw my towel in on Matt, but he's definitely got to have some improvement. We're going to have to work to get that ball out faster. If that offensive line's not going to be able to hold up, we got to do something different. I mean, we got to do something different. Let's see what Tossing Horse. Chris should be gone. It's both on Frank and Chris, but with limited depth and multiple positions, it's hard to think Chris stays if we miss the playoffs. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Well, I don't think though. I don't think it's the multiple. I think there's multiple positions. I think, you talked about it one time before. You are what, and you said it, I've said it, everyone has said, you are what your record says you are. And if we miss the playoffs, we've been to the playoffs, two times?
2 times.
With Ballard as GM, never won the division if we don't win it this year.
Yeah.
You are what you say your record says you are. As much as I will defend Ballard that he has found a lot of talent. The team is more talented than when he took over. But I think you said it, Zach. He's built the team like we still have Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's built the team in a way like you've already found the quarterback. And I think the biggest indictment that will ever be on him, for me, until he does it, if they make the playoffs and then they do well and then he's still here, is the fear to select a quarterback that you're going to pick the wrong one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just have to do it. I mean, didn't Derek tell us last week that he had heard from people that the Colts were all in on Justin Fields a few years ago, but Ballard didn't trust a rookie quarterback? That's incredibly frightening.
Well, yeah. I mean, Ballard wants to have that job security. He thinks he's built this team to be in win now mode. By stepping back and drafting a younger quarterback, he's worried about losing those games. Man, I tell you, it's a mistake if you don't get your quarterback. I say no matter what, you go out and get your quarterback of the future this offseason and don't play around.
If you're going to be wrong big. Just go down. Like, he's going to go down without swinging.
Well, could you imagine being a general manager and of a team for this long and literally getting fired and never selecting your own quarterback? Like you've never drafted your own quarterback of the future. Like, you didn't even get a chance because you wouldn't even take that opportunity. And I said it on the podcast we had with Kevin Bowen last week. There's this idea that you're mortgaging the future when you've given up all of this draft capital. But you're also mortgaging the future if you don't select a young quarterback and get that that situation taken care of. Because you really are nothing in the NFL if you don't have a quarterback. You're not going to win year in and year out. I mean, you look at what guys like Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning have done in the past. Hell, even Drew Brees. I mean, nobody knows about Blair White if Peyton Manning doesn't exist, right? Like that's just, they're playing with just, it doesn't matter. They're just so good at the game. And that's what a quarterback can do for you versus when you don't have one, and you got to stop taking these Band-Aids. You got to stop kicking the tires on these older guys. You probably got to recognize that your team's not quite as good as you say they are to the fan base. There's definite holes, and there's holes on every team. There really are. But you can't neglect the left tackle. You got to find your edge. You got to take a swing at quarterback. And you got to continually upgrade that wide receiver position to where you have true skilled players all across the board. Modern NFL tells you got to have 2 to 3 really good high-level wide receivers to compete. And we just haven't kind of adopted that philosophy. Throw up some of these people.
Go up. I want to address one Tossing Horseshoes Van put out here about, just really quickly before we run through them. If Matt had time, I feel like he'd not be so frazzled. I will say there's a slight concern setting in for me that he's a little bit shell-shocked because his 2 picks on last Thursday, he had clean pockets. And I think he got happy feet, which is very odd for a guy who's been in the league as long as he has. But you can get shell-shocked, and you can sit there and have this protection. So if he gets it more consistently, we've seen what he can do. But man, he's getting hit. I looked it up today. I mean, I think it's 21 sacks is how many times he's been sacked. He's getting hit a lot, and he's going to get shell-shocked. So they need to start giving it to him consistently, because right now, when he gets that time, I don't think he knows what the heck to do with it.
Yeah, it's a running for your life. Let's get through some of these comments as well. Jose Fax, I think Matt's like 4th all-time in comebacks. He can get the job done. He has done it a couple times for us. So many Colts fans want to argue and blame Ballard or Reich. Many agree that it is both. I think you can go further south. I don't think Irsay is going to worry about who is more to blame. I've always said this, Nomad, it's a package deal. Either they both stay, they both go. I don't like the idea of having one or the other and just tossing the blame on one. And I've always probably been a little bit different than most of the fans. I've probably placed a little more blame on Ballard, a little less on Frank. Most people probably would put more on Frank, less on Ballard. Guys, I'm telling you, we have talent on this football team, but we've been sold on this idea that we are this super Super Bowl built, talent filled football team. And the truth is, we're just not. I mean, how many true talented teams don't have a starting left tackle like for the next 10 years? How many true teams don't have a closer at the edge position where you just know? You just know that guy's getting home at the end of the game when it counts the most. How many of those guys don't have a quarterback, that quarterback position not filled out? None of which is Frank Reich's fault at all. Like, he doesn't pick the players. He doesn't accumulate players via free agency, via trade, whatever you want to do, waiver wire. That's all on Chris Ballard, and we can say what we want to say about him, but you kind of are who you are at this point. You've been a general manager for a long time, and you've just not been you've never gotten over the hump. You've never really pushed things, to any level. And it's a lot of this, man. It's a lot of this talk about being something that you're just not. And we're seeing it in real time, and we're seeing it kind of all blow up in our face a little bit. That being said, we still have the opportunity to win these next 2 games and take control of our own destiny. I really believe that. Like all the doom and gloom, all the whatever, if you can just find a way to salvage this offensive line, I think you actually still have a chance, and there's still a path to make the playoffs for this football team. Like I do. I think because I think unlike most years, I think our defense has the capability to kind of keep us in most games.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not ready to go with the elite or anything like that, but I think they can definitely keep us in a lot of those football games.
Well, I was going to say too, one of the things, we always harp on quarterback, and people always talk about the Colts and the Colts fans saying, "Hey, we've had this extended bliss of went from Peyton to Luck," right? Let's also point out that during that time frame, we kind of went from Tarek Glenn, right, to Costanzo.
Yeah.
I mean, Costanzo was a little rough in the beginning, but kind of you went from elite left tackle to elite left tackle.
Yeah.
I think that's really lost a lot of times.
Yeah.
And my thing with going back with Ballard too and being paired together is I have slowly come to my issue with Ballard at this point is the more the ego, and like you said, you got to have an ego to be a GM to feel you can do your job. But the laughing about different questions, the kind of laughing off the gifting the positions. I mean, I'll say like he tried to fix the pass rush. He went out and he got Yannick Ngakoue, and I think he's done well. He's not done what we've wanted yet. He's taken swings, but it's not been at the positions that you look at and go, man, you gotta have the swings. I mean, look at it right now. Doolin's on IR, and we're not. He didn't like. There are pieces still out there that you. I mean, there's one big one we all talk about. Ty is still there, and you're not doing anything about it. We're going to roll into Jacksonville on Sunday, more than likely, with Pittman, Pierce, and Paris. And we're going to see what happens.
A lot of people, people who are really love Ballard, and this isn't just a Ballard bashing live stream. We just kind of got on that topic, but a lot of people will compare him to Bill Polian, and I say his premise of building a football team is similar to Bill Polian. However, he's not so much alike, aligned with Bill Polian from the standpoint is Bill Polian drafted a star left tackle. He drafted a franchise quarterback. He drafted 2 edge rushers because he knew his defense wasn't going to be great. But he, at the end of those games, he had 2 guys that could get that quarterback on the ground and close those games out. Ballard's done none of those. He's not drafted an elite left tackle. He's not drafted a quarterback. He's not drafted a edge rusher, let alone 2. He's not done those things. So we can't really crown him, as much as we like some of these draft picks that he's had, and they've been very good. I'm not going to take that away from him. I've always said this: Chris Ballard is a very good talent evaluator, a very good scout, but not a great general manager, because becoming a general manager is about trading, acquiring talent, moving up in the draft, moving down in the draft. You got to go both ways in the draft. You can't always just be going backwards, and I don't know. For me, it just is what it is. Probably should get off Chris Ballard because we've been.
Well, I was going to say, I want to say not with Ballard, but one more thing too. When we talk about, like, as we kind of go through the comments and we shift towards talking about this week, there's one that me and you were talking about right before we came on, is these 2 weeks are huge. I want to lay this out, and we can come back to it later. I told you this. It is okay as a Colts fan to want them to fire everybody, right, at the end of the year, B, to draft a quarterback, right? But it's also okay for you to want them to win. In an ideal world, I would love for them to get hot, go to the playoffs, make some noise, and bring them all back. That's fine. Consistent, and then draft your quarterback and send him behind Matt Ryan.
Draft a quarterback.
Because here's the thing. The misconception is the more you win, the harder it is to draft a quarterback. This class is – we're not going to get into this all, but this class is loaded, and we have a lot of ammo to move up. We will have a lot of ammo to move up. The Chiefs did it. The Texans did it. The Ravens did it. You can do that if you have the right mindset. So, Colt, like me and you were talking about, still cheer for your team to win.
Yeah.
Sorry, soapbox.
So let's go through some of these. Peyton's gonna say he had a chance to sign Armstead, didn't. Fair point.
One quick thing with Armstead. Now, he's been out though too. Armstead is just now coming back to be able to play. So even if we had signed Armstead, not to defend Ballard, even if we had signed Armstead, he wouldn't have been playing these first 5 weeks. He's been out.
Yeah. Unku says, I like Quiddy and Dowell's edge picks, but yeah, his putting off the quarterback is a black mark on his resume.
Mm-hmm.
Nomad.
It absolutely is.
Quiddio and Dowell are starting to cook. Yeah, I'd say starting to lightly simmer. Yeah.
They're showing Dio more now. Dio's showing a little bit more. I mean, obviously Quiddy's hurt. Quiddy looked good to begin the year.
Rob says, quit being a Matt Ryan hater because the O-line needs to protect Matt Ryan better so he can make plays, and protect Jonathan Taylor so we can get the run game going. I'd say 2 things. I'd say that the offensive line is definitely a problem, a liability, the number one thing that needs to be fixed. Matt Ryan has made some really, really, really bad decisions as a veteran quarterback, like running with the football with one hand on the football. That's not how you're taught, even at the lowest level, of how you should secure a football. That's not the offensive line's fault. Now he's running because he hasn't got a wide receiver who's made separation. There's lots of variables into that. I'm not really a Matt Ryan hater, if I'm being 100% honest. He's done some good things. Like I mentioned earlier in the live stream, he's led us back to 3 potential game-winning drives, and we've gotten 2. I'm not ready to give up on him. But he's definitely got to do himself some favors. Ball protection, no, without a doubt, and then throwing the interceptions into like double and triple coverage. Those are just things that you can't live with long term.
Well, and let's also we can't leave out, like, I'm sure I feel like Robert might be talking to me because it's been well known that I didn't really prefer Matt Ryan, and I have said a lot of things since he started off so poorly. You can't blame one without the other, right? You can't blame him without blaming the O-line. You can't blame the O-line. It's one of those things like you're talking about. You can't run around with it up here. Like, you got to know how to take a sack and not fumble. You got to know how to not throw it into triple coverage.
Yeah.
And then one thing, big one that me and you have talked about consistently is he seems to have forgotten like situational football too. Sometimes is don't take a sack to push yourself out of field goal range,
Yeah. Yeah.
because he's done that several times too. That being said, I agree with you from what you said earlier. I'm not putting Sam Ellinger in. Uh,
Yeah.
Matt Ryan has done good. I mean, he's in. I think he's in the top 5 in passing yards right now.
I
He's
think so.
done well.
Yeah.
He just needs help. It's kind of. I think the best thing I heard was someone said he got sold that he was going to come here as a ready-made team, and it was not. This is not Phillip Rivers 2 years ago, right? Where
100%.
the O-line is set.
Phil said he hopes JT comes back and look like his normal dominant self. No doubt, brother. Calvin Beatty. This team's problem generally surrounds coaching and not GM. A lot of the Ryan's pressure comes from him not calling different protections. I'd say that play a part into it. However, if you're Matt Pryor and you're not blocking the guy in front of you, I don't think you call any protection you want to call in that case, and that's not going to work out your way.
Just look up the Bradley Chubb play. Oh my
Where he
God.
says Rodney Thomas is playing better safety than Julian Blackmon. Just my opinion. It's a nice little hot take right there. That'll be interesting too. Let's just pivot right to that conversation. Julian Blackmon starting to come back in a limited capacity. Rodney Thomas, who is playing very well for you. I'm going to ask you, Steven, put your head coach hat on right now. What are you doing, man? You going to roll with the guy who's the hot hand? Are you going to go with the veteran who's done well in the past but had a little bit of a shaky start to start this season?
I am absolutely positively. I was talking about this with a different team at a different position. I'm running with the hot hand till it's not hot anymore, right?
Okay.
Like, put him in there. He's playing well within the system, right? And I love this show. We love Julian Blackmon. He's amazing, but I don't think he's ready to come back anyway. Like,
yeah,
you go with what's working till it's not working. Go to the well until it doesn't work anymore. And if he's playing well and he's playing in the capacity of what this defense wants him to do, keep it going. Now, if we go out and we get blown out in the next 2 games and Blackman's ready to come out, bring Blackmon back.
Fair enough. Yeah,
What about you?
I would probably roll with the hot hand, honestly, too. That's a hard decision to make because there's so much potential. You gotta also know. I mean, Julian's coming off a really rough injury too. I mean, he heals so fast. He always comes back so well, but he's coming off of a very difficult injury to just just pick up where you left off. A lot of times that takes all the way up into the second year before you start seeing your body get back to where it needs to go. But there's no doubt about it that Rodney Thomas is playing very, very well for this football team. Defense in general is playing very well. I probably don't change anything about it right now. I probably just roll with it and just go.
It's so spot on.
Uncouth. That's just so Ballard. Absolutely whiffed on left tackle, but nailed 7th round safety and a non-power 5.
It is.
That's a very, very it's a true statement.
I'm starring your comment. That is.
Yeah.
It's so true, though, is it not? Like, it is so Ballard to just nail on someone late that no one's ever freaking heard of.
It's just,
It's the scout. Like you said, it's the scout in him to be able to find that talent deep in the draft.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you've got talented guys, and look, you're gonna have to play these guys, and you're gonna have to make some really hard decisions moving forward. There are a lot of players who've had success for your football team, but they're not playing to the level. I mean, let's just look at this in its whole. You're gonna have a situation where guys are coming off of an injury where another player has replaced them and played better. I think you can make an argument that Danny Pentner has played better at center than Ryan Kelly's played. I think you can make an argument that Rodney Thomas has played better than Julian Blackmon. Man, that's part of football. I think you should you don't have to make the argument. He's made it for himself that Isaiah Rodgers should be out there on the football field. I think he's played better than Kenny Moore and Faison, if I'm being 100% honest, when he's been on the football field. And it's just amazing to me that for the size of Rodgers is how well he tackles. Like he comes up and actually helps and provides run support to be that size. I just think he's special, man. I know a lot of people think, oh, well, that's just kind of a knee jerk thing. I just think he's special. I think there's something about him when it's all said and done, whether it be for us or for another football team. I think he's going to be a superstar in this league. I've felt that way. He's dynamic in his playmaking ability. He can take the football away, and he's a sure tackler. I mean, he's a pretty damn good football player. And when he gets on the field, there's no coincidence that this team has played better defensively since he started getting an increase in snaps over the last few weeks.
Well, I was gonna say with that, like first, you called that in the off season. I think you called him a ball magnet
Yeah.
in the off season, and we were looking for him to have big time success. I think leading into the season, I believe me and you both picked him to have the most interceptions on the team too. So I mean, absolutely with him with that, like it's 100%. I think he is a playmaker, and I want to give credit where credit's due too. Like we called out Gus, like not like he's listening, but we called out Gus Bradley after the first couple of weeks, and dude made adjustments, and he's getting his best players on the field,
Yeah.
and he's letting them play the way he's letting them play free, and I think also that's them knowing the system better, and they are able to play free. The defense has looked really, really good. And I think we got lost in all of this in the horrible eye bleeding game that was Denver. We have to still give credit to the D coordinator. They played a great game. Russ looked bad, but that's also because they made him look bad.
Well, I mean, think about this though. In the last 6 quarters that they've played football, they've given up 9 points. I mean, that's pretty good, man. I mean, I
The
think
most we've given up in a game is what,
I mean,
24?
they shut out the Titans in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up 24 points. Yeah, two of the scores were actually they were already on their side of the football field because of turnovers. Like
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have to really even drive. They were going to get points, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown, out of that situation. Um, They've been pretty good. Like I said earlier, I'm not ready to call them elite at all, but I think they're a very solid football team. I think there's room to grow. I think there's room to grow when it comes to that. And I would have never thought that the defense would have carried this football team this year. Versus the offense, just kind of going into things. And shout out to Alec Pierce too, man. Like what a coming out party he had in Denver, catching some of those difficult passes. Man, I will say this. I think Chris Ballard hit on one there. I think he's probably got him a pretty good wide receiver. I'm going to throw up a comment here. This is our annual little Danny Pinter. So guys, if you haven't been on this live stream, I call Danny Pinter, me and my friends in our circle, we call him little Danny Pinter from Ball State. But giving him a shout out, little Danny Pinter actually played better at center. Even the announcer called him out on Thursday Night Football, kind of telling he would climb to the second level. Seems like that center position's a more natural position. When it comes down to it, Rob wants us.
That's the same comment earlier, Rob.
It's kind of the same, yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but at the same time,
Pop up his other one up top. I want to comment on that one. You see the other one about the Raiders?
Yeah. Oh, the Raiders. They're 1-4. Does that mean Derek Carr sucks?
No. It means they have the worst head coach in the NFL. For those around long enough, I hate Josh McDaniels, and I am so glad they are 1-4. And I feel bad because I really like Derek Carr. I really like Devontae Adams, but I can't. He's a horrible head coach. So when you get mad about Frank, count your blessings that Josh McDaniels backed out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, as I think I've said what I've had to say about Matt Ryan. I mean, like I said, I'm not ready to give up on him. But at the same time, he does have to do things better. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. And for you to sit here and say that he's being a good quarterback to this point, would not be true. They're the lowest scoring team in the NFL, and you can blame a lot of things on a lot of people. But when your offense goes, who gets all the credit? Your quarterback. When your offense doesn't go, who gets all the credit? Your quarterback. And there's so many variables, and he's been put into this just unimaginable situation where his offensive line has not protected him at all. At all. Well, but that being said, he has also done things that have been detrimental to this football team and himself. That's what he's done, and some of it's been self-created and some of it's been honestly has been on this offensive line. It's a very, very rough go when it comes to that. But to sit here and say that Matt Ryan doesn't, deserve any blame in this, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not comfortable to do that. And then we're going to give the last one on Rob, just like last year in Cincinnati wasn't good, and then they end up being in the Super Bowl. My Colts can do the same thing. We can agree on this, Rob. I hope you're right about that, brother. I hope they
There's
are.
one big glaring difference, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Two.
I hope they are definitely marching up there and with a chance to win that Lombardi. How freaking cool would that be to have a no horsing around Super Bowl reaction party? Whew, you want to talk about a dream come true right there? With people like Rob and Nomad, Corey Lampkins. I mean, we've got all the regulars in here as well. Let's throw up Addison. What role do you think Reich had in
the
never-ending quarterback
QB
carousel, knowing to handpick Philip Rivers old? That's a great question you ask, but I think ultimately it's fair, and I think his feedback was taken in consideration, more so with the Carson situation than any of the others. However, it's ultimately Chris Ballard's decision. Chris Ballard does not have to do this if he doesn't want to do this. And I understand you want to have that mesh and that relationship, and you want to get the right people in. But I would have to think that Philip Rivers and Matt Ryan were Chris Ballard, and then Carson Wentz was more of a Frank Reich situation. That being said, you were probably wrong about you weren't probably. You were wrong about Wentz. You were right about Rivers, and jury's still out on Ryan. I mean, honestly, and we're getting ready to go right into the Jaguars talk here. Honestly, you just have to. I mean, you just got to look at it like this. This football team legitimately can still make a run and still be a playoff football team. And that's saying something. I mean, they really should be 3-2. Let's face it. If they make that field goal at the end of the game against the Texans, they should be a 3-2 football team and right in the mix with the AFC South.
But how different does everybody feel? Like, that's a great question too. Like, if you kick that field goal and you're like, whew, wasn't pretty, but we got out of the game 1-0. How different do you feel?
Yeah.
And I was going to say one thing with Rivers, like you were saying, I think that's really easily glossed over too. Is we always point back to Luck's sudden retirement. I think they truly thought Rivers was a 2-year, and they had another year to figure it out. And then he just I think it was surprised everybody. He retired, and then they're like, "Oh crap, what do we do now?" And lo and behold, hindsight is you could have drafted. Me and you both love him, and I know it's a hot topic, but could have drafted Justin Fields. Instead, you traded for Carson Wentz and saw what was going to happen. It didn't work out. But in the end, too, like with Wentz and with that situation, at least you took a swing in some way, shape. I prefer the swing in the draft, but I think Rivers was another thing that is often forgotten. I think they truly thought they were getting him for 2 years, and maybe they would have groomed Jacob Eason differently. Maybe they would have drafted somebody after that, knowing it.
Yeah.
I don't think it wasn't like Costanzo. Costanzo, they knew, and he messed up. Like, that's the thing. Like, Ballard knew he was on the doorstep of retirement, and you didn't address it. With Rivers, I really do. I keep saying it, I really think they thought they had him for 2 years, and he just kind of decided I'm done. But also, we've always heard rumors too that they may have gone to him and say, "We want to get younger."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, peace."
Yeah, you never know.
I'm going to go coach my kids.
Yeah, you never know about the backstory with that. Guys, let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, what we got coming up. I want to know what are your expectations as Colts fans? Are you going to be just happy with the win? Do you want to have a really dominant win? Are you not feeling great? You feel like, oh my gosh, like they're just going to come in here and they're just going to beat us. Like they're just better than we are. We want to know. Hit us in the comments right there. Steven, I, for one, feel pretty good about this game this weekend. I do. And I know people are going to say, well, you just said all of this crap for 44 minutes about, this and that and the other. Here's why I feel good about it. I think regardless of the points, regardless of all of those things, I think we've now started to narrow down and narrow in our identity of who we want to be when it comes to the pass catching situation. I think Pierce is a clear number 2 for us now. That rapport that he's built with Matt Ryan, that trust is starting to go up. I think he's starting to trust these tight ends a little bit more. Wasn't great. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't beautiful. But in that second half, we started to pop a few runs there. We started to get those 6 and those 8s and those 12s. And we just started to sprinkle some of those in. And with a Jonathan Taylor back there, that's a definite uptick in those situations. If we can just rectify this offensive line, I still think there's still hope, and maybe that's just the Colts fandom inside of me of wanting this football team to be so good. I still think there's something inside of this football team. I still think there's gas left in the tank for Matt Ryan. I still think there's talent going to be surrounded by him. If you can just find a way to get that offensive line, find 5 guys that can play football together, and I think we could go on a run here. I mean, it would be such a Frank Reich-ish thing to do as well. You start off like crap, and then just all of a sudden you just get hot, and then next thing you know, yeah, it's going to be crazy. Khalil thinks he expects a dominant defensive effort. I hope you're right, man. I hope we absolutely get that pressure on Trevor Lawrence. What say you, Steven, man? How you feel?
Man, so I sit here, last week we called, we were like, I think it's going to happen, right? And at the same time, I was like, I think it's going to be, I looked back, I predicted 13-10, so I was damn close, 12-9, right? I'm pretty dang close. I should have used bet stamp and bet on that. But like you sit here and you go, the offense has to, like, they're historically bad right now. They are dead last.
Yeah.
And like every offensive category, they've got to improve, right? Like there's going to be a game where you score more than 17 points. Could this be the one? I tweeted out earlier today an interesting stat, and it got a lot of traction, was Frank Reich has never lost to a lot has been talked about how long it's been since the Colts have won in Jacksonville. Jaguars haven't won in 4 years in Indy. Reich is 4-0, and they are 16-5 all time in Indy against the Jaguars.
Yeah.
There's something to that. Like someone tweeted back at me and said, "There's something. Say what you want, bad juju, voodoo, whatever it is. There's something to it. Like Reich can't win an opener, he can't win in Jacksonville. There's something with that, and maybe the Jags just can't do it in Indy." I mean, I think, man, I want to say that they're going to show up and that they're going to like finally have that bust out. But maybe the bust out's 24 points, score a couple touchdowns, you know? I think for me, I mean, I know Doolin going on the IR has a lot of people worried, but at the same time, like you brought it up, Pittman and Pierce. Pierce is, well, I mean, Matt Ryan has a rapport with him. And you have 2 really good tight ends. So, like the one thing that I think irritates me with Reich sometimes is Jelani Woods had 2 touchdowns on 2 catches, and then you didn't throw. And then the next game, he had that big catch, like 40 yards, and then you just don't throw to him at all. Like he's a playmaker. Get your playmakers involved. I don't know. Have we heard? I'm skeptical if JT's going to play.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to.
Haven't heard anything. I don't know, man.
He was off to the side, I think, today.
He doesn't miss much. So I think tomorrow's a big day for him.
Mm-hmm.
If he can get out there in a limited capacity, maybe so. Tyrell
don't look at the laundry list of injury report. It's a bad thing to look at.
Yeah. Tyrell doesn't think we're going to win. He thinks our cornerbacks suck.
Hi, Tyrell. I miss you,
Tyrell,
buddy.
what
For those
about
who don't know, he is a
Tyrell?
Colt.
I'm talking to
Tell us
you.
like it is.
I'm looking in the camera. I'm talking to you, Tyrell. What about Stephon Gilmore? Come on, man.
That's a good one.
I don't know if you could say our corners suck. I don't think you could say they necessarily suck. Um, I will say this: there's been some really bad moments from our corners, but overall, I think they're playing pretty good football. That's just my opinion. The deciding factor of the game will be Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen versus Ryman and Pryor. You think Pryor starts this football game, Steven?
Oh God, no.
You don't think he
I know
starts?
people freaked out when they saw the depth chart. That's cookie cutter, you guys. Like it still had Pryor as one immediately. You know, Reich had already said it's Raymond, right? He's going to be starting. I don't think there's no way you can look your team in the face and try to say we're trying to improve, and you keep trotting him out there. Like if you want to know how bad he was, like I joked earlier, after we're done, go on YouTube, just click over, type in Bradley Chubb, Matt Pryor. He just went right by him. Like I don't think I don't think he can see the field. I don't think you can. I would cut him at
Wow,
this point.
take right
I'd be like,
there.
I'm done.
Stephen Burton would cut Matt Pryor.
He has been I think I saw a stat, and if someone knows it better than me, put it in the
I'd
chat.
give, I'd
It's like
give,
79%,
I'd
something
give,
like that. He's giving up pressure.
I'd give Dennis Kelly a crack at it, anyways, right? I
Yeah,
don't think
like
you can
put
get
him
worse.
in.
I mean, let a veteran go out there, let him see what he's got to prove, and then go from there. Be nice to get that rectified, so you could have five guys, and you can start working on a little bit of communication and continuity as well. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm nervous. I'm excited. I think we're gonna win, man. I think we're gonna beat the Jaguars. I don't know. Call it a hunch, call it a feeling. Um, I think something. I think something might have happened in that locker room when we beat the Broncos. As bad as we played, as terrible as it looked, I think those guys looked at each other in a game where you really couldn't have played a much worse game, from an offensive line standpoint. And damn it, you found a way to win that game. And as much as I hate comment like from Jim Irsay saying I don't care, it's a beautiful win. It wasn't a beautiful win. It was a terrible, disgusting win, is what it was. However, you still won. You still found a way in a game like that. And if you can find ways to win games like that, eventually you start to grow as a team, you start to galvanize, and you start to move in the right direction. But like I said, these next 2 weeks are I mean, they are critical. You have got to protect your home field this weekend and then go down there in Tennessee. Stephen Burton going to be there at Tennessee? You going to be there at that Titans game, man?
I am, man. I'm going to be at the Titans game. I mean, and that's the thing too. Like you're looking when you keep talking about the next two games. Really, look at the next five. I know we don't want to get too far ahead. You don't want to get far ahead, but you've got a stretch of winnable games, and the Titans are going into a stretch of very unwinnable games. Like they're getting ready to hit that stretch where it's like Burrow, Rodgers, everybody and their mother who they're playing against. You got to find a way to win this. And I think one of the things I said too is that me and you had talked about this is I may have missed the boat on this. Maybe it was changed and I didn't see it. There's not a stat line that says ugly win. It's still a damn win.
Yeah.
It's not you're not 1, 2, 1, and 1 because they've added ugly win to the categories.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you hear a lot of people say all the time, don't apologize for winning, and it's hard to win. It's a hard thing to do to win. And I think you're right. I think there's a chance. I think as bad as he's played too, and as bad as they've played, you couldn't not walk out of that game and go, damn, man, like Matt Ryan's going to die if
Yeah.
we don't block. Like
Oh,
he's like Rocky, dude. He kept coming back. I give him
yeah.
credit, man. I give him a lot of credit for that.
I mean, I don't see how he can make it a whole lot further if he just keeps getting hit like that so often. I don't know, man. I mean, they've had 10 days I think if you walk out there and you have a really, really bad showing from your offensive line, I think at this point, that's who you are, and that's what you're going to be the whole rest of the season. Like if you've had this long of a break, you obviously know there's a problem. This was your best chance in season to potentially fix that offensive line. At that point, I don't see it getting any better. At that point, I think it's like I said, it's just something you're going to have to live with, and that's going to be where my eyes and all of my attention's focused. I want to know who that 5 is going to march out there and be, and I want to see how they play. I want to see if they start getting a little bit more push, in particular those 3 on the inside. If it's going to be, if Kelly misses, if it's going to be Pentner, Braden
Which
Smith,
is a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, Braden Smith and Big Q right in the middle should be able to run behind that, on the inside in that game with some pretty good blockers. Yeah, man. I'm gonna fill it out. I'm gonna go 27-13. Indianapolis Colts win. That's my
prediction. Really close, man. Corey tossed his out. 27-17. Y'all drop your predictions in the chat and we'll pop them up. I'm gonna go, man. I'm gonna go 21-10 Colts. I'm not quite ready to say they're gonna have this bust out offensively. I think the defense is gonna play much better than week 1 or when they played the Jags. Week 2, sorry. It's all a blur. But I think they're gonna play much better. I agree with you. Like a fun thing to watch, I'm just saying this is if Kelly can't go and Pinter goes, little Danny Pinter.
There we go. Little Danny. And they look good. That's going to be interesting. It is.
Do you sideline your former all-pro center who's not played up to snuff? What have you done for me lately? You have gotten Matt Ryan killed for me lately.
Exactly. Nate goes up there with 24-20 Colts. Tyler's 17-13, a little more modest, but I'll take it. That'd be a win right there.
Can we be honest? Would you take another 12-9?
Yeah, I would, but it would be really, really hard to deal with.
Tough to watch. I'll take any win.
I'm going to be there at the game. Yeah, I'd like to at least see a couple touchdowns scored in the game. That would be cool. I don't know.
Want to celebrate a little bit because you're going to be there.
Exactly. And we got to get a little confidence going, a little rhythm going, a little 2-game winning streak, and then go into Tennessee in enemy territory. And we all know how that's going to be, Man, I tell you, we'll just have to see. I mean, yeah, if we lose this week, I would be very disappointed. I'll put it that way. A clean sweep for the Jags against us. That's rough, man. That's rough.
Yeah, I mean, if at that point, you're in an instant, like I don't love him, but he's kind of spoke to me lately, which is Dan Dockich, because he just spits flames, and that's all I've wanted to do the last couple of weeks. And he said, he's like, it's a clean slate at this point. Like, you've gotten yourself back to 500. You're 2-2-1, and everything that you want is right here for the next 2 weeks. Yeah. If you go and you win these next 2 games, you are 4-2-1. And you are in the leader. You're in the pole position in the division.
Yep. 100%.
So everything you want is right there. Go get it. Oh, there's our first one.
What's that?
Nathan Miller. I'd take a 28-35 loss if it means we look like we're clicking on offense and our line shows promise moving forward. So tired of anemic offenses.
Well, if our offense looks good and we get beat by 35, I don't even know how that would work out. I mean, that'd be like an historically good offensive football game. But hey, to Nate's point, the offense has got to get going. It's really hard to watch that.
It can't be this bad. It can't continue.
It might
be this bad.
That's the bad part. It might actually be this bad.
Oh, don't tell me that.
Guys, as we always say at the end of the show, thank you so much for being a part of this family. Thank you so much for all of your comments. We'll even throw up a guy like this guy right here, our guy Tyrell. Tyrell's very first comment on this podcast was not the most happiest was not the most happiest comment, but I'll say this: we gave that man his just due. He comes back all the time. He's a part of this family, and we want to invite you to be a part of this family as well. Because your point and your opinion matters, whether you agree with Steve and I or not. You still should be heard. So we've always said that this is a platform for the people. We're just lucky enough to be able to talk about it with you guys. Super, super cool. Steven, man, I mean, I think at this point we went an hour. I think we're in a good place, man. I think we're in a good place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, and to say, Tyrell says thank you again. Even he has said too. He's like, he's a Colts fan, and most podcasts and most shows won't let him say what he wants to say. And we've said, hey, go ahead. Like we don't mind it. We've had Titans fans get on here. I'm sure that's going to happen after this week. We've had after week 2, we had a lot of Jags fans show up to kind of because of. I mean, I threw a lot of venom that way, but that's probably on me. But I mean, I agree with you, man. I mean, we're so thankful. Anyone who's new, thank you guys for coming. If you want to sign up and support the family, you're going to get, at this point, you're still going to get entered into the free jersey giveaway that we're going to do. Jersey of your choice, Colts jersey of your choice. Sign up, hit that, and become a member. And if you just want to subscribe, we love that too. Like, we've seen this family grow massively over the last year, and that's because of you guys. Like, I would love to say and love to think it's because of me and Zach. We might have like a little bit to do with it, but it's you guys. It's everything that you guys do and the support you show us. So, I mean, we kind of, Zach, I'm going to go ahead. We kind of end these things the same way we always do. I love you. Zach loves you. We're out.